Okay, we're going to get ready to do a couple end tables, and got a couple sketches here. It's a drawing I did on the drafting table. Just got the basic dimensions, top dimensions, and height dimension. That's all we have right now. This one gets a drawer and a raised panel, side panel, and then it gets a 1/4 inch plywood back.
Okay, so raised panels.
So this is the other one that has a full drawer. It'll have an adjustable shelf in the middle. I also have raised panels on the sides, and then I'll have another frame with the 1/4 inch back in it. So this is just what I start out with. Then I start figuring out all my dimensions after I get this rough drawing done and get it okay with the customer. I just start jotting down dimensions and just kind of go by eye from my experience of what I think is going to look the best. And
Proportion wise.
yeah, proportion wise. I'm big on proportion. I don't do any mathematical equations on proportions. I just I'll go by eye. So
Whatever looks nice.
yeah, yeah.
So you sketched these out on just the drafting table. You already had an idea in your head what you were going
And
for.
the customer gave me a rough sketch, just a real rough pencil drawing, and we talked about the dimensions, and I just went to the drafting table and drew them out. So it's real simple.
Okay, so once again, let's go over it. So 2 end tables, there's the front and side dimensions for the first one, and front and side dimensions for the second one. So what are the overall dimensions? They're going to be how tall?
They're going to be 32 inches tall. That's the bed that I built that these go beside. The mattress is 32 inches high. So that's what the customer wanted. She wanted it pretty much even with the top of the mattress. So that's where the 32 inch dimension came from. And then just for that dimension, came up with the 24 inch overhang, 26 inch top, and then 20 inches deep on top. So
Okay.
It's just a nice size for an end table.
So what kind of overall design theme are you going for with this?
Well, we did the bed. It was a buffalo hide insert in the headboard and rustic alder distressed. So we're going along with that same theme. This is going to be right next to them. We did some deer antler and some rosettes out of deer antler on the bed. So we're going to go ahead and use that deer antler for a knob on each one of them. The butt of the antler will be a knob for this one. This will be an antler for across the drawer on that one. Then we're going to inlay some arrowheads on that to give it a nice country rustic look.
Okay. All right, so nice rustic country look,
Yes,
distressed.
distressed.
As you will see later, Chuck's going to destroy this wood once he makes it all nice and pretty.
All nice and pretty, then I'm going to take and beat it all up.
That's right, that's what people do.
That's what we do.
Okay, all right, making distressed furniture.
On that one.
What? Careful. How's your second day of video shooting?
It's great.
What do you do with something like that, Chuck?
Well, actually, I got that turned around backwards. It'll straighten out. You put the clamps on it. As long as it'll take it out once you put the clamps on it. Hold it down tight to the clamps.
Okay, Chuck says that clamps will take care of it.
So my panel was a little warped there when I put it together, so as long as you put your clamps nice and tight, push it down to the clamps along here, along each side. That should take that little bit of a twist out of your
What type of clamps are those?
These are parallel jaw clamps.
Parallel jaw clamps?
Yes.
Any particular brand?
Well, there's a lot of brands out there.
Which ones are the best?
They're all about the same, I think.
And these particular? What brand? Chuck can't pronounce it. Is it foreign?
German made.
More German stuff?
More German. EHOMA.
EHOMA? How do you say that?
I don't know how you say it.
Let me see it. Show the camera. EHOMA? EHOMA?
Woodcraft Supply.
Woodcraft Supply, guys. All right. They look robust.
I got me a phone call.
Uh-oh. Chuck's blowing up.
It's the fish guy.
The fish guy.
Hello.
So what we're trying to do here is, upon gluing that up, the frame is slightly out of flat. So the beauty of using these types of clamps is that you can clamp to the clamps. Now you need another clamp. How many clamps can you use at one time?
One at a time.
One at a time.
I have 2 hands.
How many clamps have you used on a project?
40 to 50.
Would everybody like to see Chuck's clamp pile? They're over there in the background. A whole cart of clamps. Lots of clamps.
So, getting ready to scrape these panels to plane them down to 5/8 of an inch, so I've got to get the glue off of them. So when I run it through the planer, it doesn't chip my planer blades, and it also will throw the planer off if you got all the glue bumps on one side. It'll throw your planer off. So dual purpose to get this glue cleaned up. Now this one I glued up just about an hour ago, so it's got it glue's fairly soft, which is a lot easier to clean up. You can just get to that point and you can just kind of scrape it right off, and that's not going to hurt your planer. Got a little bit of glue there, but got cleaned up. Do the back side. So when I glued these together, I didn't use any biscuits or anything. These are just flat glued side by side, long grain to long grain. Doesn't need any extra fasteners in it. So now I'm not too worried about it being uneven, because once these get planed down to 5/8, all that's going to go away.
How sharp is that chisel?
This is not very sharp. This is just an old junky chisel. It's not too sharp, so it doesn't dig in too much. It's just enough to cut the glue off. So you can see this glue is a lot harder. I'm not going to be able to get it all off, but I'll be able to get all the high spots off of it. It's just not going to be the best of my planer blades, but sometimes you just have to deal with that. That one didn't take anything off, but basically what I'm doing is indexing. So I want to get all my boards, the thickest ones, gone through first, and then get it started playing down so all the boards are the same thickness going through. Otherwise, if you get a board that's too thin, it can get a kickback on you. So that's basically what you call indexing.
So what type of planer is that?
Woodmaster. So every once in a while you decide that one didn't want to kind of pull through very easily, so it kind of wax your table up. I just use slip ease. You can use paraffin wax.
Slip ease?
Yes, slip ease.
Slip ease?
Slip ease.
So, slip ease or paraffin wax?
Yeah, Johnson wax, anything that doesn't have silicone in it, basically.
And the silicone, because it could contaminate the wood?
Silicone contaminate your finish.
Okay.
So you can see the ones that are really, the narrow board's glued up. Once it's all planed out, the color starts matching in pretty well. The grain matches pretty well. If it doesn't, or the design element. So I got these a little over 5/8 of an inch right now. I'm lucky enough to have a wide belt sander. I'll go ahead and take them down with the wide belt sander to 5/8.
So as far as equipment, the planer is probably one of the
Oh, planer joint table saw.
planer's key. Chuck's got a call. Is it the fish guy?
It's my wife. Hello, dear. Okay. Got my grocery list. Daniel's recording me right now, so you're going to be on YouTube.
So the planer is
Planer, joiner, table saw, and the band saw, which doesn't get used as much, but it's still a very key element, which we can talk about that later. But you can do a lot with the band saw that most people don't think you can. So I'm going to go over and set up the
okay.
wide belt sander. These are the tops that I've already partly sanded down and just stopped so we can show you how the process of that goes through. So these are tops. You can see I glued these wider boards together. Again, they're just edge jointed, no fasteners to them. They'll stay forever. So this will take you down into the thousands, so you can just set it whatever, whichever you need. So 5/8 of an inch is about 625. So I'll set it at about 670 just to see what happens. It takes a while to get it up there, but it's moving pretty fast down there at the bottom. See how fast it's spinning.
Yeah.
First you have to have dust collector. Also has a sample switch here, so yeah, it only gives you 30 thousandths of gives you about 30 thousandths of clearance. If you go over that, it's going to get that switch and it'll automatically drop the table down. So you don't burn up your drum. It's going to take too much off and get a little burnt to it. It'll come out.
What was that?
Starting to smooth down real quick there. Just take her on down. Another safety switch.
Belt sander has a lot of safety switches.
Do my sawdust in here right now. It's got a switch in here that if the belt comes over too far, I'll hit that switch and it'll shut the machine off. Comes out. Now I'm going to drop it down about 20 thousandths. That's about as much as you can take off this one time.
20 thousandths of an inch.
Yeah,
So dropping it down. So you've gone through all of them so far, and now you're dropping it.
yeah. Do the other side. Hold it down and it hits that first roller and then it kind of kicks up a little bit.
So
I have to hold it down a little bit until it hits that first roller. Burn there on sandpaper, so I'm going to drop it down to 15 thousandths this time.
so it's burning a little bit.
Yeah, it just builds up sawdust.
Safety.
Switch.
Safety switch. Chuck generates a lot of sawdust. It's a good thing he has a lot of safety switches. Okay, so instead of taking 20,000, well, that's the other way, right? Thought we were 65. So you took off 20 and then you took off 10. Now you're taking off another 10. So a total of 40, 30.
Well, we need to get down to 625. Sometimes those burn marks will come right along a glue edge. Most of the glue's even already gone, but a lot of times there's just enough glue in there that it'll start building up a little extra heat and start giving that burn mark. So a lot of times you can get rid of that burn mark just by running it through the same setting over and over.
Okay, Chuck's trying to clean up a little bit. All right, so what are we doing?
So our digger panels now, we have them down to 5/8 of an inch. And we're going to measure them and cut them to size. Let's go use the track saw with the crosscut sled. Okay. So these are the panels that were the narrow boards. You can see how they have come out pretty well. So we have our frames made and got our grooves cut in it for the panel. We're just going to lay these out and line them up top and bottom. A lot of times I'll run my stiles just a hair long, so when I take them to the belt sander over there, the big belt sander, I can sand those ends off real easy. If you leave this stick up, then you have to sand this whole part off to get it flush. So I usually leave that sticking up just a hair, just enough that you can feel it. So know that that's easy to sand off. So just kind of line them up and measure it. So that's 10.5, so I'm going to add about 3/4 of an inch to it. Got a grooves, my grooves are just a hair over 3/8 of an inch. So I'm going to add about 3/4, just a hair under. I like to use, I don't always use these, but a lot of times I will. My panels are fitting a little loose. These are called space balls, and you can put those in your groove here.
They're rubber?
Yeah, they're rubber. So that holds your panel tight so it doesn't slide around on you, because you want to be able to slide. You don't want your panel locked in. You don't want it glued in at all. It's got to be able to expand and contract. That's the whole idea behind the raised panel. This wide panel is going to move. These narrow pieces aren't going to move very much. So you want to leave these a little bit loose. So when you leave them a little bit loose, sometimes they get a little rattle to them. So you can put these space balls in, and it'll pick up the gap, and it'll still let it expand. Push against that rubber, let it expand, but it also holds it tight.
So is it like Spaceballs, the movie? Spaceballs?
Well, I think about that a lot. They make several different varieties of these, but that's
So who makes Spaceballs?
the Space Academy. I have no clue who makes space balls.
May the Schwartz be with you.
Okay, so we're gonna run these through the shaper and put a raised panel on them. So the shaper will cut it down to 1/4 of an inch. We'll set the shaper so that it'll just 1/4 of an inch will fit right in that 1/4 inch groove. So we're 10.5, so we're gonna go about 11 1/4 to start out with. So I always just, because I can't remember anything.
So write stuff down.
11 1/4.
So it's not just about measuring, it's about measuring and then writing stuff down.
Regular copy. So 17 1/8. I'm going to go about 17 7/8.
All right, 17 7/8.
So we got several different panels here, so I'm going to make sure we get the right one. Okay, so I need 10 or 11 1/4. These are 12.5. Let's do 11.5. So we're going to rip them first. Take my note with me. Don't mess up. So you usually want to rip first, that way sometimes when you glue all these pieces up, one side will be a little bit narrower than the other, and if you try to use your crosscut sled, then that'll skew your panel. So you always want to get the edges parallel with each other first before you start cross-cutting.
So taking a little bit off of each side.
Well, you can see this one right here, it's rocking a little bit. So, see, it's still rocking a little bit, so you need to kind of run it over the joiner so we can get it straightened out.
Okay.
Now it's fitting nice and tight, so I'm going to go ahead and rip. On the backside, and they take all your pressure on the backside and run it through. Most of the time you'll take and run it through, and about halfway push the pressure back down on the front side. But when it's got a belly, and it's got a belly in it like a hump, you want to keep all your pressure on the backside.
All the way through.
All the way through.
All the way through.
Hopefully you get the belly out of this. Does a pretty good job right there. Lower my rollers down, sled will slide over top of it.
So the crosscut sled is necessary because of the unevenness on both ends.
Yeah, you gotta get the ends trimmed up. You can do it on a miter saw, but this is more accurate actually. Something this wide. This is what I came up with as a saw. Well, people just use a clamp. I just use that. 17 7/8. It's a little wide for the saw, so that's always a bad thing when it's right on the edge. So basically you don't get to use a stop there necessarily, although you have cut something thin like that, if it's still glued nice and tight, tap on it, you got a good joint. So now we're at 17, so that's a little over 17 7/8. Stretch out a little bit. Glue didn't get quite out to the ends on those, but it doesn't hurt much. Okay, we're ready for the shaper. Go ahead and get our other one. Just like that. There's our panels. So what we just did was the side panels for this cabinet with the door on it. And so we got those two side panels here. And then the other narrow side panel, this is only going to be 9 inches tall. So it gets a raised panel in it also. So that's what this panel's for. And that's what all these parts here are for. These side panels, which I haven't cut the groove in them yet, but I will. And then we got the bottom shelf, which is over there, hasn't been planed down yet. So, we got a frame for the drawer, and then this is for the back of this one, or excuse me, for the back of this one, I've got a frame also made, but I'm only going to use 1/4 inch plywood in it because it's going to be the back. So I'm not going to put a raised panel in the back of the cabinet. And also with this here, I'll have a frame back there, but I'll enclose a piece of 1/4 inch plywood, alder plywood, with that, and then gets the bottom shelf on that one. So kind of let you know what got going on here.
So 2 separate end tables.
2 separate end tables. One with a door on it, one with just a drawer and a shelf. So this actually gets cut in half. So 2 short panels for the side panels, but when you run that through the planer and the sander, it's a lot easier to run a long piece through than trying to, if you had it already cut in half, then you'd be running these short pieces through, which is kind of dangerous, and it's just a lot easier to run it through in a long piece. So that's why I went ahead and just left these piece, then I'll cut it in half.
And what pieces are those?
These are the side panels for the end table. They get raised panels also. Okay. So that's what the narrow panel is for. That's what this is for, is the side panels.